jet combat. Low to the right, behind the Thunderbird's F-16, is one of the most formidable fighters produced by our enemy. It is the MiG-17, the Afterburner aircraft. It is taken out to the left. Bill Reesman runs the right hand. One of only 3 or 4 in North America is finding out in the Afterburner regime. We'll show you some of the great characteristics of the enemy's aircraft and why an American is flying it. First, let me tell you about Randy Ball, a 5th-generation Texan. He grew up in a community in rural Texas that is so small, he had a mere 29 people in his high school graduating class. As a kid, he relished the story of his great-uncle Gilbert Ball, who was a B-17 pilot during World War II, and Randy vowed that someday he would fly. Now, he flies with a G-suit, just like the Thunderbirds do. He'll be coming in over your left shoulder for the high-speed pad. This will be at 550 miles an hour. I want you to look at the sweep of the wing on the MiG and those stripes on the top of the wing. And that fin on the top of the aft fuselage. That's part of the reason of the success of that aircraft. As Randy comes around, he's going to be setting up for the inverted pass. This time the speed will be down to a mere 350 miles per hour. He will be executing in these unlimited skies the same type of G-load that will be experienced by the Thunderbirds later on this afternoon. That is the reason he wears that G-suit, to withstand the awesome forces of 7.5 times the force of gravity forcing him down into his seat. Now, Randy Ball has the distinction of being the American with the most number of hours in any of the enemy's jets that have made their way to our shores. Watch the airplane, watch the nose come up, and again watch that sweep. As he rolls upside down, he'll hang by the belt, and you'll hear the whistle of that engine. Now, I bring that wing sweep in because the predecessor of this airplane was our enemy's first combat aircraft. That was the MiG-17, built by the Soviets, built under license by the Chinese, and used in the Korean War against our F-86 Sabres. We and the Russians shared captured German aeronautical data of World War II that showed that the swept wing design was far superior in a jet than a straight wing design or perpendicular wing, because it reduced the onset of compressibility, which slows an airplane down. Our F-86 and the MiG-17, the predecessor airplane of this one, had about a 35 or 36 degree wing sweep. This airplane is showing you the had even a greater wing sweep of 45 degrees at the wing roof. Then if you look carefully, you see on the wing that angle actually comes forward to 42 degrees. Now, just because of the increase in aerodynamics, when they took the engine from the predecessor aircraft, the MiG-17, and put it into this airplane without afterburner, they immediately gained 30 to 40 knots of speed. Straight upstairs like a homesick angel is Randy Ball, now showing you that yes, our former enemy, the people who we won the Cold War from, could build airplanes. They had dynamic, good flying combat pilots, and they were to be feared. All right, so back to that design now. Initially, this airplane, the MiG-17, did not have afterburner capability. It came out too late for the Korean War, but it was ready for Vietnam. Now, you know what afterburner does for you. It gives you a boost. It's like adding a supercharger on the airplane. And that's when you see the raw flames coming out the tailpipe. What you do is just feed raw fuel into the inside of the exhaust pipe, and you pick up about another 40% of thrust. But you pay the price because you will burn a tremendous amount of increased fuel. only continues to descend, he'll kill that afterburner and conserve as much fuel as he possibly can. All right, now Randy's going to show you the vertical roll capability. He'll be coming in over our left shoulder. He'll be looking for about 550 knots. Now remember, this airplane was introduced in the late 1950s, but what I tell you about the Soviet designers, they were nothing to laugh about. They were awesome, talented individuals, and this is just one of the examples of some of the machines they could pump out. People say to us, what right do you have to fly a Soviet aircraft with a red star at an American show? Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's what we say. This is a Cold War trophy. 45,000 feet per minute gets the capability. And Bradley pulls to the vertical and executes the slow roll on the way up. All right, now Bradley Ball's going to transition to a high-speed, low-altitude pass. Speed target here will be 550 knots. And if you equate that today to the speed of sound, you'll be achieving about 90% of the speed of sound. In Vietnam, there were a number of enemy MiG pilots who were flying MiG-17 when the vastly improved MiG-21 came out. Look over to your right. Catch this quick as you listen for the sound to be a little bit behind the aircraft. But many of the enemy pilots, even though they knew the MiG-21 was lighter and faster, they chose not to opt to be trained in it. They thought their best chances were in this airplane for several reasons. They knew the airplane well. And in combat, knowledge of your own airplane can determine the victor in an air-to-air dogfight. We take the swept wing design for granted these days. In airliners, in military transport, and especially in fighters. But there was a time when it was unknown, it was a mystery to us, and we knew that, first of all, jets were going to be the future, and then swept-wing jets were going to be the successful future. As we transitioned to the jets, some of the first that came out were square wings, like the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star. They just were not fast enough or nimble enough to be able to be a good dogfight airplane, and were quite often relegated to ground attack. It was our F-86 Sabre, built by the North American Aviation Company, that was the principal adversary in the initiation into the dogfight arena. There's Randy with that 7.5 G time to force the gravity pull, and then immediately changing direction and loading himself up again. Very uncomfortable, and that's where the G suit comes in to keep him and his faculties at an all-time peak. History was made in December of 1950 when a gentleman by the name of Colonel Bruce Hinton, who was flying an F-86 Sabre over the Yalu River, got into a dogfight with a MiG-17. Shot down that MiG-17 on that December day, thereby entering the history books as the first time that two swept-wing fighters have been engaged in a dogfight and one was shot down. And of course, the world of the piston-powered, propeller-driven airplane was over, because even the basic fighters that we had, or the enemy had, even at the end of World War II, remember I said we captured the German aeronautical data? Well, the Germans did have jets at the end of World War II. In our conversations with individuals like General Chuck Yeager, He said, yeah, I went up against the German jets, and he said, I'd see them from above. I would dive my airplane down at maximum speed, get on the jet's tail. I would have 3 seconds to get my shots off. If I didn't, that jet would pull away from me and become a speck in a mere second, because the jet clearly had over 100 miles per hour faster capability than did the piston-powered aircraft. So we transitioned to the world of jets at the end of World War II, and we were thick into it during the Korean War. Extra ventral fin on the top just under that red peak, and those 3 fences on the top wing that you will see when he taxis in. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. Randy Ball from Texas. The Cold War trophy, the Afterburner MiG-17. He is the highest time American pilot flying the former Soviet aircraft, the Cold War trophy.